Hey, and welcome back to Connecting the Dots. Today, we're going to talk about what's next after transparency. And before you say, we're not there yet, just listen. Because if you don't start with the end in mind, you're likely to make choices today that will limit your choices later. So let's dive in. We're going to talk about 4 different things. The first thing is the star ratings themselves. So patient experience transparency is a great beginning point for empowering patients. But if you truly want to empower your patients and move your organization towards that culture of transparency and accountability, you're going to have to eventually get to things like quality and pricing. Now, this is not new or surprising, but it is something to be thinking about. And you need to be thinking about the things like infrastructure and how you're going to get agreement on what quality ratings metrics really are, or at least the ability to explain why you're measuring things that way. And so that's a piece to think about. Now, this rolls into the natural progression here, which is performance improvement. We often say this, that transparency is a tool, it's not an outcome. Okay, and so the real goal of all of transparency is performance improvement, getting better as an organization. And so being able to tie in your accountability systems, which is your transparency, into more intelligent training systems and for coaching and teaching, and having an environment and a platform for being able to quickly test and roll out and bubble up ideas for performance improvement become really imperative to your organization having that strategic edge moving forward. Now, the final piece of this, or actually the third piece of this, is something that's really a buzzword in a lot of cases. Big data is kind of like big data. Big data is a word that people throw around without a whole lot behind it. Same thing with predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is something that we ultimately think in the performance arena you can actually get to. So looking at things like what you're measuring for performance right now, so what are the metrics you're seeing if you are performing well, and looking at proxies around those things in operations and measuring those, we think you actually can get to predictive analytics. And this is an important thing because the industry as a whole really needs to get to predictive. So we're not looking at things like surveys that are done 6 months after the fact. We're looking at things in more real time. We can see problems that are coming, not problems that occurred before. And so on that front, now one final word, this is a final bit about this, but make sure that you're thinking beyond the urgency of the initial project. It's so easy to get caught in that urgency trap, but what we're seeing companies who are using things like data use agreements to block in clients and lock them into corners with how they use their own data. And this is useful analogy. We're seeing the same thing. Our industry is in turmoil right now in the world of the EMRs, trying to untie the Gordian knot of portable personal health information. And the reason why this is happening is because companies in the EMR world are using excuses like data architecture and data use agreements and HIPAA and all that kind of thing to basically force market share. And frankly, this is a hugely shameful practice that needs to stop. As an industry, we've got to get away from this kind of setup. The personal health information should belong to patients, and reputation and performance information should belong to the organizations. This is the only way that you give responsibility and freedom to the people most affected to be able to make the changes that they need to. So make sure that before you move down this process, that the vision and philosophy of your partner is aligned with where you ultimately want to go. So hopefully that's been really helpful, and we'll see you next time on Connecting the Dots.